fog lies low over a muddy field in 1939. Dawn barely touches the horizon when a deep, throaty diesel rumble cuts through the silence. Out of the mist emerges a shape built for endurance, the Scammell Pioneer 1934. Its three axles claw through the terrain, heavy wheels splashing mud in every direction, the smell of oil and wet earth filling the air. This is not a truck for smooth roads. It was born for broken ground, for the chaos of war, and for the brutal demands of heavy recovery. What began in 1934 as a civilian heavy-haul tractor would soon become one of Britain's most dependable and distinctive military workhorses. The Pioneer was designed at a time when full four-wheel drive systems were rare. Instead, its engineers relied on ingenious suspension and gearing to overcome rough terrain. The vehicle's massive chassis and unique walking beam rear suspension kept all six wheels grounded even on the most uneven surfaces. The result was a truck that could drag artillery, rescue tanks, and carry impossible loads through mud, snow, and sand long before the word off-road became fashionable. Under its steel bonnet sat a Gardner 6LW diesel engine, a six-cylinder powerhouse with a displacement of 8.4 liters, approximately 512 cubic inches. It produced around 102 horsepower at 1,700 revolutions per minute, but its true strength lay in its torque, an impressive 427 Newton meters, roughly 315 pound-foot. That raw pulling power, delivered at low revs, gave the Pioneer its legendary ability to tow or winch vehicles far heavier than itself. Mechanics often said that the Gardner sounded less like a truck and more like a steady heartbeat, slow, confident, and unstoppable. Weighing about 8,500 kilograms, around 18,700 pounds, unladen, the Pioneer was no lightweight. Its sturdy frame and reinforced axles were designed to withstand immense tension from towing and winching. With a top speed of just 39 kilometers per hour, roughly 24 miles per hour, it was never meant for speed, but for persistence. The truck's enormous rear winch could pull up to 19,900 kilograms, around 43,900 pounds. Enough to haul a medium tank out of a crater or drag an artillery piece through a swamp. Production of the Scammell Pioneer began in the mid-1930s, and by the end of the Second World War, around 3,400 units had been built across different variants. The R100 was used as an artillery tractor, the SV1S and SV2S served as heavy recovery vehicles, and the TRMU-30 worked as a tank transporter. Each version shared the same basic DNA, raw strength, durability, and a refusal to quit even when the ground itself turned against it. The SV2S, in particular, became legendary for its 8-ton winch and foldable crane, capable of rescuing immobilized tanks under fire. Picture the scene at a bombed-out crossroads in France. A British Matilda tank lies disabled, half buried in the mud. The crew waits anxiously as the familiar rumble of a Pioneer approaches. Its heavy tires churn up the ground, exhaust belching a steady rhythm. The crew leaps out, connecting steel cables to the tank's hull. The driver engages low gear. The Gardner growls, gears grind, and the thick cable tightens like a drawn bowstring. Slowly, the tank begins to move. Mud spits and chains clatter as the Pioneer drags 30 tons of steel back to safety. The scene repeats itself thousands of times across Europe and North Africa, the Scammell always answering the same call. Bring it home. The vehicle's mechanical design was a marvel of simplicity and strength. With a 6x4 layout, the front axle steered while the two rear axles drove the vehicle through reduction gears, providing maximum traction. The suspension's walking beam system allowed both rear axles to pivot independently, giving constant ground contact. A brilliant solution in an age before widespread all-wheel drive. Some crews went further, fitting detachable tracks over the rear wheels to transform the Pioneer into a temporary half-track, greatly improving its ability to traverse soft or sandy ground. It was a perfect example of British improvisation and battlefield ingenuity. But the Pioneer had its limits. It was heavy, and without a front-drive axle, deep mud could sometimes bog it down. Fuel consumption was high, and its wide turning radius made maneuvering in tight spaces difficult. Yet soldiers respected it for one simple reason. It always got the job done. Its dependability meant that recovery crews trusted it with their lives. Many drivers affectionately described it as slow but unstoppable, a mechanical companion that would crawl, pull, and fight its way through anything to reach stranded men and machines. Today, the Scammell Pioneer survives as one of the most recognizable British military trucks of the Second World War. Restored examples still operate at military vehicle shows, their engines idling with that same slow, throaty growl that echoed across the battlefields 8 decades ago. The heavy winch still clanks as it winds steel cable, and the diesel still fills the air with that unmistakable mechanical rhythm. Watching one in motion is like stepping back in time. You can almost hear the distant thunder of artillery and feel the ground tremble under its massive wheels. For enthusiasts, historians, and engineers alike, the Pioneer remains a symbol of British determination, built not for glory, but for duty. It was the quiet giant of the war, the unsung savior of tanks and crews alike, the iron hand that reached into the mud to pull victory from defeat. Its legend endures not because of beauty or speed, but because of heart. The heart of an engine that refused to stop, and the men who drove it through hell and home again. If you enjoyed this journey through history, make sure to subscribe for more stories of machines that shaped our world, engines that roared through mud, fire, and time, carrying the weight of war and the spirit of endurance.